and welcome to MLW Confusion Presents the Indie Spotlight. Cass's Indie Spotlight, if you will. Tried out some new things for this. I don't know if it'll work. Maybe we'll go back to the old ways next time around. But really, we haven't had the Indie Spotlight in a while because I've had a handful of guests, really more than a handful of guests the last couple of months, be willing to drop by the show. But didn't get anything scheduled for this week, and there was, mostly because there was supposed to be MLW, coming on. That got canceled, rightfully so, of course, but left a hole in this here programming. So thought we'd bring back the Indie Spotlight, check out independent wrestling across the United States and the world. This week we're going to check out some freelance wrestling, see what they're all about. I know they're out of Chicago, been around for about a decade, so good kept secret, I suppose. But we're going to check out their all killer, no filler. Did I do that right? I don't know, I'm just not terribly. All killer, no thriller. Now, I'm still screwing this up, oh, dear me. It's all killer, no filler. We should know these things by now, because things like this have existed forever. Anywho, so yeah, go check out All Killer, No Thriller. 8 big matches coming from Chicago, but first, let's do it. Let's talk about some MLW, because we got some news coming down the wire. Even if they're not having shows this week, or really not going to have another show allegedly until next month. So it's a kind of a big gap for a major wrestling promotion. But whatever. I'm not in charge of things. But we got the news. Let's have the news. First of all, it's coming down the line through Fightful Select via Sean Ross Sapp. It's going to be one of those episodes, ladies and gentlemen, where I don't know how to talk. Mouth is just going to fail me. Can't say words like Sean, or Ross, or Sapp. Anyway, Sean Ross Sapp is reporting that Del Miezo has signed a new deal with MLW to further bolster the featherweight division. The division looks to be built around Janai Kai and Del Miezo, which, let's face it, a casual viewer could see, because they're really the only women that's been around consistency the last 12 months. And really, Delmi's been there practically since the beginning of the featherweight division, whereas Kai is celebrating 1 full year of MLW this month. But either way, anything we could do to help, help cement the featherweight division is going to be a good thing. And then secondly, one of our big complaints here in the IWC about MLW is the fact that they don't seem to lock people down for terribly long. And it's hard to get used and get behind certain roster, chunks of the roster that we're not familiar with when they're, just here for 3 months and then just disappear off into the independent ether. But Del Miezo, friend of the show, Del Miezo, looking to stay around for the immediate future. Also, fairly big news. It has been announced that MLW is collaborating with Powertown for their new Galoob action figure series. This is going to come out in 2025. MLW a couple years ago had released a batch of, I believe it's a total of 6 action figures. So any way you can further get your name out there and provide merchandise and a source of revenue is going to be awesome. It's going to be great for the wrestlers too, as long as their merchandising deals are pretty sweet as well. If nothing else, you got the nerd factor of cool, man, I got an action figure. But we'll see how things go, because my biggest complaint about the last batch of action figures is that nobody was really left in the company when the action figures came out. I think Jacob Fatu was the only one who was still active on the roster when the action figures came out. Hammerstone and both Hammerstone and Mads Kruger would come back. Hammer to finish out his contract, and then Kruger coming to a new deal with the company. But Killer Cross is gone. Microman, which the Microman action figure didn't even look like him. They just took a generic luchador and called it Microman. But he was gone from the company by that point as well. So hopefully, I do hope the Galoob line is a bit more. The roster will match the action figures once the action figures actually come out. I hope that a bunch of guys and or girls didn't disappear in between when the figures got made and when they're getting released. So, two big pieces of behind the scenes news on that. We also have names coming up out of Lucha Apocalypto, which is the next show. That is going to be November 9th in Cicero Stadium in Cicero, Illinois, or as they call it, Chicago. Batch of names coming out of that include legends Felino and Averno, plus the return of Star Jr. and the debut of Persephone. Luchadora, we got two Luchadoras now, because if Southpaw Regional Wrestling has taught us anything, it's really silly just to get one woman for some ladies wrestling, if you will. But yeah, Felino and Averno are pretty big names that I'm actually pretty excited to see joining Atlantis, and Atlantis Jr. in terms of the Legends front. So that's shaping up to be interesting. And our first match has been announced for these tapings as well. For the main card, it's going to be for the Middleweight Championship as Mystico defends against Titan and Averno. And then the B in Sports tapings, or what used to be the B in Sports tapings, for the unnamed secondary show. We are going to have the Weapons of Mass Destruction match between Akira and Mads Kruger, which, if you let them cook, I think that match is going to steal at least that portion of the show, if not necessarily be the match of the night. All right, so I butchered my way through the intro, butchered my way through the news. Let's talk Freelance. All killer, no filler. This was their September 28th event in Logan Square Auditorium, Chicago, Illinois. So, it's got a couple of weeks under the belt, but it's recent enough, and, a couple of folks, it just seemed like a solid enough card and making some waves in the local area, so I figured, why not? Let's just see what it's about. And we're going to start off hot with a scramble match. Let me count again. 6-person scramble as Darius Luttrell, Mason Morgan, friend of the show, Sam Holloway, Laney Luck, Alfonso Gonzalez, and Davey Bang all vie for victory here. Of course, scramble rules means only one person can win. No eliminations. Everybody's just bouncing around like pinballs, ping pong balls, or any other super bouncy ball you want to throw out there. We are going to start things off, though, because with some big men staring each other down, because both Luttrell and Sam Holloway are pretty big dudes. However, Gonzalez stops that and tries to get into both of their faces, which doesn't work because both of them got a foot on Gonzalez. He's not a big dude, but Gonzalez is beaten down for those efforts. Things just kind of break down from there. Butt-based offense between Morgan and Laney Luck, using their butts as a weapon. Who's got the best butt? I'll let the fans decide on that one. Hit that up in the comments below. Hit us up on social media. We could take a vote. Take a vote between Mason Morgan and Laney Luck on who's got the best butt in Freelance. I mean, I guess if we're opening it up to Freelance, it could be the rest of the roster too. I don't know. Still, hit us up in the comments. It'll be fun. We do finally get the big man stare down. They exchange chops. They are really laying it into each other. And as the coup de grace, they somehow chokeslam each other. Seriously, both dudes goozle each other, try to fight their way out of it, fail to fight their way out of it, and lift each other up simultaneously and drop each other down with severe force. And ladies and gentlemen, I have never quite seen seen something like that in the realm of professional wrestling. And I've seen a lot of crazy stuff go on, but you learn something new every day watching wrestling, and mark that on the calendar, because I watch a lot of wrestling and still hadn't managed to see that. But yeah, so both of our big men down. Davey Bang takes out the group, going outside the ring. It's evidently dive o'clock. Lady Luck follows up with a somersault senton. Inside the ring, it takes 3 people to pile drive Luttrell, but that's not the end of the match, though. Luck, though, actually tries to roll up both Bang and Gonzalez, and people are just getting their stuff in left and right, but it's Gonzalez who finishes things up with a low blow on Davey Bang and follows it up with a roll-up, a Toru Yano special, if you will. Your winner, Alfonso Gonzalez. And yeah, I hate calling scrambles because just the action is everywhere. I was thoroughly entertained by this, of course. I'm not going to I can't put over the Double choke slam, enough, because that entertained me to no end, because I had legit like not seen that before. I'm not gonna say it's never happened before, but I've definitely not seen it before. So like that was just all crazy go nuts, and everything you can expect from a scramble match. Our next match is Wes Barkley taking on Robbie Reeves. Reeves is hyped up as an up-and-comer in freelance wrestling, and we get some early back-and-forth action between the two before Reeves takes over. An ugly-looking sidewalk slam gets two, but Barkley gets his shoulder up off that. A hot shot by Barkley changes the direction of the match, changes the momentum, if you will. However, it's going to take like these cheating and illegal antics for Barkley to stay on top. He likes to go for the eyes. He likes to choke quite a bit, grinding away at the younger Reeves. Reeves catches Barkley's rolling clothesline into a spinning back suplex. We get the further comeback sequence by Reeves because he really can't keep the momentum overall. However, Barkley catches him with a Michinoku driver and a cocky pin, gets 2 count off of that. Finally, like, we finish things up with a lot of back and forth. Guys are trading big moves, neither keeping each other down. However, Reeves hits the shell shock, full Ryback style, tongue in cheek, wink wink, nudge nudge, say no more, and gets the victory over the veteran Reeves. Another fun matchup. Again, they're really hyping up Reeves as kind of like this guy to watch in freelance. He's moving up the ranks, and taking out Wes Barkley is just kind of another pin in the cap. Is that the correct expression? Feather in the cap? Pin in the hat? Feather in the cap? I don't know. I'm probably drunk at this point. Which is not great because we still got like 6 more matches to go. But first, the first of these matches is our first title match, first of 3 title matches this evening, as the Freelance Championship is on the line as Storm Grayson laid down an open challenge, and it was answered by Reagan Lydale. She's looking to get what is probably going to be the biggest win of her young career if she picks up the victory here tonight. Will she do it? I mean, okay, I do know, so stay tuned, and I'll let you know if you haven't already spoiled it for yourself. Anywho, Grayson, though, is not going to take Lydell seriously. He's roughing her up a bit, using his superior power game, especially in the corner when he gets some forearms in there. Lydell gets angry, comes back, chops in a bulldog. Grayson goes to the eyes and a backpack stunner. Only gets a 2 count off of that, though. Goes back to just smacking Lydell around, roughing her up a bit. That's going to be my phrase of the match, roughing her up. Lydell fights back and gets a tornado suplex, 2 count off that, Ember Moon style, if you will. Sabin Gage is out there now, and he gets a pounce for his effort. And man, oh man, I do love me a pounce. I'll get a pounce for Grayson Storm as well, but he is in the ropes. Poor ring awareness, though Lydell is pretty young into her career. Gage interferes again. This time, though, it's a bit more successful as Grayson hits a big knee to put Lydell away, and still, your freelance champion, Grayson Storm. Fun little match here as well. Putting over Reagan Lydell as the underdog, if you will. Forgetting my words today. It is going to be a great long day, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, so it was a good match. Kind of like a good, like, even defeat. Lydell looked good, and is going to show that, if she keeps on the path she is, like, good things are going to be coming her way sooner than later. Our hippie Haas, is going to be one to beat in the Midwest. However, that leads Grayson Storm, still champion, still looking for competition, and he is pretty much, wanting to, throw down the gauntlet again, just to see, because who's left? Who's left to beat him when Shocker Kylie Ray returns. Storm actually doesn't want a piece of that, and basically just flat out says that if you could beat his little henchman in Sabin Gage, then Kylie Ray can have a title match next month. So guess what match is next? Kylie Ray versus Sabin Gage. Lots of stalling. You get it because obviously Gage wasn't ready for this match despite doing all the interference in the previous match. But we continue the stalling until it's finally time for Grayson to get a cheap shot in. Gage locks in a half crab, followed up by the STF. However, Ray gets to the ropes. Kylie Ray tries to mount a comeback, but Gage hits a big German suplex. Only gets 2 count off of that, despite how fun that bridge was. Back and forth. Ray gets the Skada special in a super kick, but Grayson pulls Sabin into the ropes. We get a double underhook pile driver. With a Grayson assisted pin. However, the ref finally catches Grayson's cheating at this point, and Grayson gets tossed out of the match. We get a lot of counters going back and forth, looking to pick up some finishers. However, this back and forth ends with Kylie Ray locking in a variation of La Mystica to put away Gage, becoming the new #1 contender to the Freelance Championship. And of course, we kind of figured the way this match was set up is going to be a foregone conclusion that Kylie Ray won. Well, she did, spoiler, and she's going to be the new #1 contender for the show next month. I believe it's October 25th. And you can catch that on IWTV, of course, just like this show, which I didn't mention at the top of the show. But yeah, it was a good match of Kylie Ray overcoming the odds, basically 2-on-1 until the ref kicks out Grayson, and until she picked up the big victory. So let's go ahead, and this is about the halfway point, so we're going to call this intermission. They called it intermission. And let's take a pause for the cause, get yourself an energy drink, get yourself a coffee maker, or, just buy yourself some coffee, and we'll be back un momento. If you're like me, sometimes you need a pick-me-up to get you through the day. I drink Ray's Energy for that pickup. Ray's comes in a bunch of different flavors, and more recently Italian Ice, which is great, by the way. And it contains no sugar, so there's no crash after you drink it. And really, best of all, if you go through me and go to wetrepsports.com, use my code CASS, you get 15% off your order. So, also, be like Cass, drink Ray's Energy. All right, we are back. We got more freelance action with Trevor Outlaw with Frank the Clown, now going by FTC, taking on Devon Monroe. More botching of names. It's not putting my best foot forward for freelance. I apologize. Way too late in the show. So we are going to start this match off with dueling poses for crowd adulation, going up to the ropes, posing for the crowd. Just when it looks like Monroe's going to have the victory there, we get a cheap shot, attack from behind. Outlaw is ready to start this match now. We're going pretty darn quick. We go outside the ring, catch each other's legs. They both go for kicks, looking to safely and fairly put each other's legs down, but no. Outlaw is going to go to the throat. Cheap shots to the throat. Not quite a Mongolian chop, but it's that variation of a throat thrust that Tracy Smothers really like to use. Love me some Tracy Smothers. So if you're going to steal, better steal from him. Monroe uses his speed until Frank the Clown gets in for a distraction off of that. Get a bridging fisherman's driver for 2. Frank the Clown sings happy birthday to Trevor Outlaw because evidently it's Outlawtober or Trevtober. Trevtember. I forget. I didn't write that down because they had balloons for it. Evidently, September is Trevor Outlaw's birth month, so they're going to have a party for that. At least partying in the form of having a match with Devon Monroe. Anyway, so we got happy birthday, and this somehow causes Monroe to mount a comeback with a flurry of offense. We get some hip flexors and a crossbody by Monroe. Only gets a 2 count, though. Outlaw catches a belly-to-belly for 2. Follows that up with twisting neckbreaker. Also gets 2 off of that one. Outlaw reverses a sunset flip attempt, and FTC gives the assist and the victory to Trevor Outlaw. FTC, Frank the Clown. I must say this. I think this is the first time I've actually seen him in proper action, despite being aware of his existence for quite some time. And I can most certainly say that I think he had raided Lady Gaga's closet for his outfit. So that was a thing. Barring that, snark aside, it was a solid match. Telling the story of trying to overcome the odds. Only this time, Monroe was not successful in his endeavor of working through the distraction. I blame Happy Birthday. Happy Birthday comes into the public domain, and now it's everyone's problem. That therein lies the issue. After this, we have August Matthews taking on Eye Candy Elliott. Elliott's making his return to Freelance after about 6 years. I think they did the math, 5 or 6 years. But he was the originator and longest reigning Freelance Legacy Champion. He is back, at least one night only. I don't know, maybe more. We'll see what's happening next month. But we get respect to start this show off with then following up with the clothesline and mounted punches by Elliott. So we start off with respect, but it gets heated pretty darn quickly. Elliott rakes the eyes, and then goes and hides in the crowd. He stole some dude's hat, and he's just sitting in the front row. And Matthews is like, "Where's he at? Where's he at?" And some dude next to Elliott points the opposite way, which was hilarious because the guy he pointed at looks nothing like Eye Candy Elliott. But we got to figure it out. We got to figure out. Matthews gets a hold of Elliott, drops him crotch first on the guardrail. This doesn't, it lasts terribly long, but at least long enough. Got the guardrail thing going on. Back suplex on the ring apron. That is the hardest part of the ring, in case nobody has ever told you. Matthews comes back, cannonball in the corner, fancy style for 2. Elliott avoids the 450, but couldn't avoid a suicide dive outside the ring. Elliott catches a power bomb, followed up by a lifting neckbreaker for 2. Glam slam after that, only gets a 2 count off of that, too. After that, we are going to start strong style King's Road no selling of suplex, which I hate. I hate when guys get dropped on their head and shoulders, and we're just going to no sell that. But there's a lot of things I hate and going to yell at the clouds at. But so that was the thing. We're going to trade suplex. Elliott is knocked loopy with a kick and then tied up for the 3 count. Excellent match between the two. I'm not sure. And the commentary really didn't know what Elliott had been up to in the preceding years, but obviously he's kept in shape and hasn't, I'm assuming he's just wrestled elsewhere given the ring shape he was in, but put on a good showing in his return to Freelance. Respect is shown until GPA and Laney Luck come out, and they beat down Matthews. Elliott joins in until Davey Bang, who's Matthews' tag team partner, comes out to run everybody off. GPA gets on the mic and basically talks about how, despite everything that's gone on, all eyes need to be on him and Laney Luck, and it's their time. It's always their time. Watch and learn. Following this surprise matchup, we have a match for the Tag Team Championships as PME takes on the Syndicate. The Syndicate happens to be charges of James Russo, and also happens to be Calvin Tankman and Shane Mercer. Looks like Philly C and Mercer are going to start things off. Mercer is doing strong boy stuff just like he usually does. Works the wrist, even punches it at one point, which I laughed at. I thought that was great. Marino and Tankman get tagged in, and Marino uses his speed to confound the much larger opponent. Teamwork by PME takes Tankman down a little bit, but there's too much stalling, too much playing to the crowd, which brings in Mercer. Mercer keeps taunting Philly C with Marino's corpse after he takes advantage for a while. We get a lot of tandem offense by the Syndicate, working together like a well-oiled machine. Marino eventually dispatches the Syndicate and gets the hot tag. We get a double assisted Shiranui. Stereo baseball slides outside the ring. Get a double stomp DDT combo on Tankman. Only gets a 2 count on that. Russo saves Mercer, dragging him outside the ring. We get a moonsault and battery, followed up by a toss into a back elbow by Tankman on Philly C. And that is going to be how you end a match, ladies and gentlemen. And still, Freelance Tag Team Champions, the Syndicate. After the match, Russo gets on the mic and he's basically begging for competition and adulation at this point because all eyes need to be on them as well. This was another fun match. This is probably the most frantic match since the scramble at the opening, and I thought these two teams gelled very well together. Of course, anytime you let Shane Mercer just chuck guys around, it's going to be a good time. Calvin Tankman is an underrated workhorse. And PME, I haven't been terribly familiar with their work, but what I've seen of them, I've thoroughly enjoyed, and they worked well as the baby faces in peril for much of this match, because, let's face it, there's not a whole lot of people right now that are bigger in size than Calvin Tankman, and let alone being that size and move like Tankman does, and they held their own against him, so that is something to say right there. All right, it is time for our main event of the evening. It is a street fight for the Freelance Legacy Championship as Koda Hernandez defends against Darin Corbin. Bunches of doors brought to the ring via Hernandez ring crew. Corbin tries to start the party off hot with a title shot. He stole the belt from the ref and just tried to attack Hernandez from behind. Koda dodges it and starts just clubbing away. Corbin is dropped tummy first on a chair. From there, we go outside the ring. Koda is sent into a batch of chairs twice. At this point, he is bleeding. We got a kendo stick involved as Koda absorbs those, steals the kendo stick, and fires back on Corbin. Koda is dropkicked through a door set up on a couple of chairs on the arena floor. Corbin stands on Corbin while he's in a tree of Joey Lawrence. That is a tree of whoa for those of you not initiated or anybody, under the age of 40. Corbin goes to be building a platform of chairs. Koda looks to kind of interrupt him and does Corbin does a variation of a cymbal crash with the chairs, which I thought was innovative and fun. Corbin, though, is deadly driven, aka just tossed off the top rope through the platform of chairs by Hernandez. Corbin goes through one of the doors in the corner via Exploder. Only gets a 2 count off of that, though. One more door chant by the crowd as well at this point. Hernandez goes to the back, comes out with a ladder, getting that set up. Koda misses an elbow from the ladder to the door. Corbin then spears Hernandez through the door for only a 2 count, and at this point, things really break down, and I lost it, ladies and gentlemen. This was I cackled like a madman. So Corbin goes through. He's like, "What was that? I didn't hear you. What was that?" Ref's like, "There's a 2 count." Corbin's like, "Okay, I still didn't hear that. Into my good ear. Tell me into my good ear." Refs again. It's a 2 count, man. Match still on, only 2. And Corbin's like, "Oh, yeah, oh, it was a 2 count, oh," and just punches the ref in the face. That is how you deal with ref bias, ladies and gentlemen. I cackled my head off with the ref going down. Second ref comes out. Koda Hernandez is getting beaten down by the chairs. Only gets a 2 count off of that, though, and Corbin responds by punching that ref as well. So we got 2 refs down. Third ref comes in, and he's just like, nah, we're not doing anything. You just punched 2 of my friends. We shouldn't do that. And then Koda goes to chuck a chair at Corbin, and Corbin ducks. Referee's hit. So now we got 3 refs down. Corbin is just elbow dropping and stomping and leg dropping refs instead of his opponent, but whatever, I'll allow it. Corbin makes war paint out of Hernandez's blood and sets up a double wide door bridge inside the ring. Hernandez and Corbin fight on the ladder. Sunset flip bomb by Hernandez. All 3 refs wake up at this point. All 3 of them count to 3. Your winner, and still Freelance Legacy Champion, Koda Hernandez. And they got nuts. They got nuts quick. But I'm gonna tell you, I popped like no other at the sight of ref number 1 just getting punched in the face, and then like continued cackling all the way through ref number 3 getting a chair thrown at his head, and then the occasional stomping and elbow drops by Corbin. That being said, this was a fun street fight. If you're into the street fighting ways of professional wrestling, these two totally brought it into the ring, and I think they delivered. They did it with a minimal amount of blood, so there's not a whole lot of like that death match stuff. Like, this is just straight street fight. And Koda Hernandez showing what he's got, beating a 20-year veteran in the form of Darin Corbin. But as I said, like, that was the main event. That is how they are ending the show. Pretty solid show. Do I think it was all killer, no thriller, or all filler? Well, I mean, kind of. At a certain level, you could probably argue that there was some thriller there, but definitely not enough to actually complain about. Of course, as I said, like, I didn't plug it at the top of the show, but this was on IWTV, so if you have yourself an IWTV subscription, be sure to check that out. I say this about every show, and there's just not enough time of the day, but like, totally make some time to add some freelance into your wrestling schedule. I'm going to try to keep up with the best I can anyway. In the meanwhile, though, there's lots of other wrestling for me to check out, so be prepared for some more indie spotlight here in the future. In the meanwhile, though, I appreciate everybody giving this here listen, despite all of my verbal gaffes that I chose not to edit out, because let's be frank, y'all don't pay me enough to really worry about that at this time. But as I said, I do appreciate you sticking it through, and in the meanwhile, I'll catch you all next week. MLW Confusion is a weekly podcast that is written and performed by Rob Kammer and hosted by Spotify for podcasters. MLW Confusion is part of the Urban Wrestling Network, and you can check them out and check out the Major League Pod on YouTube at Urban Wrestling NW. The background music for this section is Ruined by Day, performed by Alan Schroeder. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to support, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends, family, and enemies. Leaving a review is also helpful. Word of mouth of advertisement is very important for small podcasts such as this. Social media links can be found in the description, but Twitter and Instagram are at the Nova of Cass, TheNovaofCass, and Facebook is at MLW Confusion, all one word. If you'd like to support monetarily and help upgrade my equipment, please check out my virtual chip jar at ko-fi.com/Casanova. Or if you prefer more bang for your buck, you can go to patreon.com/Casanova, CASSONOVA, where for as little as $2, backers get access to the podcast early and without those pesky ads, plus other exclusive content. So join the crew that is headed up by Keith Wynn, Alan Schroeder, Alex McCarthy, and Elenia, and check it out. You can also find t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other merch at the Confusion Podcast on Teespring. Also, be sure to check out the description to find some affiliate links for, well, WWE merch, coffee machines, ice makers, and much more. For business inquiries such as ads and sponsorships, please email rzkammer, that's Kamerer, at comcast.net. Thank you for listening.